Now, close your eyes, take a slow breath in, let it go, let it all drift away. Tonight, we travel far to a red world, quiet, ancient, and waiting, a sister to Earth, once alive, now asleep. Mars, the red world in the dark. From Earth, it is only a small dot, a soft ember, floating in the black. But if you move closer, you won't find fire, you'll find silence. A silence that hums, low, steady, endless. The air is thin there, almost nothing. The wind barely moves the dust. Each grain drifts, slowly turning, as it has for billions of years. If you listen, you might hear it, a faint whisper from a sleeping planet. 4.5 billion years ago, Mars and Earth were born together from the same spinning cloud of dust and flame. Two siblings, two circles of motion, turning in the newborn light of the Sunday. They shared the same ingredients: iron, rock, water, air. For a time, they even shared warmth. Mars once had rivers, oceans, and storms. Its heart glowed, its sky was thick and soft. If you had stood there then, you would have seen clouds moving slowly, rain falling on red hills, lightning flickering through mist. But slowly, the fire faded, the core cooled, the magnetic shield weakened. Without it, the solar wind peeled away the air, layer by layer, until the planet could no longer breathe. The oceans withdrew, the rivers sank into dust, the volcanoes froze mid-eruption. The world became still, not dead, just quiet, just asleep. If Mars is asleep, what does it dream of? Perhaps it dreams of rain, of soft water touching stone. Perhaps it dreams of Earth, its blue twin, still moving, still alive. And when we look up, maybe Mars feels it, our gaze, our heartbeat echoing across the dark. Every 26 months, the two worlds draw close. The distance shrinks. Signals cross the void. Radio waves, small and patient, carry our voices through the dark. They reach the rovers. Spirit, opportunity, curiosity, perseverance. Machines built to wander and to wait. Their cameras open like eyes. Their wheels press into soil that has not been touched for eons. And as they move, the planet stirs a little, not awake, just aware. A slow planetary breath. Long ago, people called Mars the god of war. They saw its red light and imagined anger. But Mars is not angry. Its red comes from rust, iron oxide, the color of memory. It is not a god of battle. It is a god of remembering, a keeper of what once moved and then became still. On Mars, time itself moves differently. A single day, a sol, lasts 24 hours and 39 minutes. almost like ours, but slower, as if the planet is taking its time. Each sunset lingers, a pale blue light, over a dusty rose horizon. Each dawn arrives softly, like an exhale. If you could stand there, you'd see the sun small and distant, a faint coin of light. You'd feel the thin air, the brittle cold, and you would understand this world is not dead. It's simply moving at a different rhythm. Maybe that's why Mars feels peaceful, because in its stillness we hear the echo of our own fragility. Mars is not a warning. It is a mirror. It shows what happens when warmth fades, when movement slows, when balance slips away. Stillness, in the language of the cosmos, means memory. Now, breathe again. Slow in, slow out. Your breath is a rotation. Your heartbeat, a small planet turning. The same forces that once moved Mars still move within you, inside every atom, inside every thought. Mars keeps turning, quietly, patiently. A year there is almost twice as long as ours. Its winds rise gently, then fall. Sometimes the whole planet wraps itself in dust, a soft blanket of motion. Even in storms, the air is tender. Nothing breaks, only drifts. That's how Mars remembers movement, softly, without sound. Let your mind slow now. Let your thoughts settle, like dust on an empty plane. Don't chase the future. Don't hold the past. Just listen to the faint hum of space. That is the sound of peace. Mars is sleeping. You can sleep too. Tonight, we'll wander with it, across valleys once filled with water, over mountains frozen in silence, through plains painted red by time. We'll listen to what the planet says, without words, to the story it tells through stillness. So rest. Let your body grow heavy. Let your breath find its rhythm. Mars is beneath the same stars as you. It turns slowly, and you turn with it. Inhale, exhale. The night is wide, the dust is calm, and everything is quietly moving. Before Mars was born, before Earth had oceans, there was only darkness. A quiet universe, soft and warm, filled with drifting dust and silent light. There were no planets yet, no skies, no winds, only a vast, gentle cloud floating in the emptiness. Slowly, gravity began to gather everything in, not rushing, not forcing, just pulling, with a calm, patient hand. The cloud thickened, it warmed, it turned, a long, slow spiral, forming in the dark. In that spiral, tiny grains touched, then drifted apart, then touched again. The first quiet motions of a future solar system. Bit by bit, the spinning grew stronger. What was once a silent cloud became a glowing center, a newborn fire hidden inside the dust. This was the beginning of the beginning, a soft breath of light in a universe that had only known silence. And around that light, in a wide turning ring, the seeds of two small worlds were waiting to form: Earth and its red twin, Mars. Together, sleeping inside the same spiral before either one had taken its first breath. The spiral of dust kept tightening, turning gently in the quiet of a young universe. At its center, something small and faint began to change. What was once only darkness became a soft warmth, a glow so delicate it could barely be seen, but it was there, breathing quietly in the cradle of gravity. The dust fell inward, grain by grain, layer by layer. Each tiny particle added weight, added pressure, added heat. The center thickened, it brightened, it pulsed. With every slow rotation, the glow grew stronger, as if the universe itself was taking a long, steady inhale. For millions of silent years, the ember gathered strength, hidden deep inside the cloud. No sound, no rush, just patient creation. And then, very slowly, the ember became a flame, a gentle flare, spilled out into the dust, like the first spark of a match. Struck in darkness, the newborn star opened its faint golden light. This was the Sunday, not the powerful, blinding star we know today, but an infant sun, soft, warm, quiet, glowing like a candle in an endless room. Its light spread outward, touching the swirling dust, pushing it with the softest breath. Its warmth drifted through space like a calm wave, smoothing the darkness, calling worlds into being. Around this young star, the cloud began to flatten into a wide, turning disk. Dust followed dust, gas followed gas, all circling the new light in slow, graceful loops. The sun's pull was gentle but certain. It held everything close, drawing the swirling matter into ordered motion. The first true rhythm in this quiet corner of the universe. Within that spinning disk, small clumps began to form, tiny islands of rock, seeds of worlds, and among those seeds, two special ones floated near each other, carried by the same wind of stardust and gravity. One would become Earth, the other, its red twin, Mars. Both of them held softly in the warm glow of a star that had only just learned how to shine. The universe had its sun, and the sun had its children. As the spinning disk continued its quiet turn, two clusters of rock and metal began to grow more certain, more defined, more real. They circled the sun, side by side, like small lanterns, floating on the same calm river. One of them would become Earth, blue, warm, and restless. The other, smaller, cooler, gentler, would become Mars. Two worlds, shaped from the same dust, carved from the same spiral, born in the same cradle of light. Twin planets, sisters in the dark. At first, they were almost the same, both wrapped in fire, both glowing beneath oceans of molten stone, both turning slowly. As they cooled under the newborn Sunday, their surfaces rippled with magma and shadow. Their skies were nothing but vapor and heat, and with each slow rotation, each gentle fall of cooling ash, their shape settled a little more, rounder, smoother, quieter. Gravity drew their bodies tight, pressing them into true worlds, with firm ground and growing hearts. Inside them, cores of iron and nickel began to churn, heavy, bright, like embers inside a sleeping fire. Earth's core, spun fast and strong, becoming a deep magnetic heartbeat that would protect it for billions of years. Mars's core also turned, but softer, slower, its warmth fading earlier, its strength more fragile. Two hearts, born together, but beating with different destinies. As the planets cooled, their surfaces cracked, ridges rising, mountains stretching upward through newborn crust. Volcanoes fumed beneath red and black skies. Oceans of lava glowed like dim lantern light. And rain, yes, even then, began to fall. Steam condensed into clouds. Clouds thickened into storms. Storms spread over both planets in long, slow breaths. Earth kept more of its warmth. Mars kept more of its silence. But still, in these early days, they resembled each other so closely that the universe could almost mistake them for the same world, seen from two angles. Twin planets turning in the dark. As millions of years passed, their differences grew. Earth was larger, holding its heat deep within. Mars was smaller, cooling faster, its crust thickening early, its core slowly losing strength. Yet their motions, their slow, steady orbits, remained intertwined. Each year, they drifted around the sun in a quiet dance, keeping watch on one another across widening space. The sun warmed them both, but differently. Earth glowed blue, Mars began to blush red. Iron in its soil met the thin breath of atmosphere, and rust bloomed across its surface, a dust that would define it for the rest of time. The red planet, the sleeping twin, and still, even as their colors changed, as their temperatures split, as their hearts took different paths, they remained connected by origin, by orbit, by memory, two worlds made of the same ancient dust, carrying the same quiet rhythm, turning beneath the same sun, one becoming a cradle for life, one becoming a cradle for silence, but both in their own way, beautiful, steady, endlessly turning, twin planets born together from a single whisper of starlight. In the early days of Mars, long before its silence, the planet was awake, warm, active, breathing with heat and moving with water. Its young surface glowed beneath a sky thicker than the one we know today. Clouds rolled slowly through a dusty orange air, and sunlight, pale but steady, glistened off oceans, still forming across the planet's skin. Yes, Mars once had oceans, wide, shallow seas that shimmered like faded copper, lakes gathered in low valleys, rivers carved gentle channels through soft red soil. If you could have stood there in that ancient dawn, you would have heard the soft tapping of rain on volcanic stone. You would have seen mist drifting across warm plains and streams winding their way toward larger basins that breathed in and out. With the rhythms of early weather, the red planet was not always red. Much of it was blue. Beneath those waters, the ground churned with fire. Mars was home to volcanoes so vast they dwarfed anything on Earth. Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the entire solar system, began its slow rise during this age. A mountain so wide, so gentle in its slope, that climbing it would feel almost like walking across a quiet plain, yet its peak reached into the thin beginnings of space. Nearby, rivers of lava flowed beneath thick clouds, lighting the horizon with a dim orange glow. The ground trembled at times, shifting and settling as the planet shaped itself from molten breath and cooling stone. Fire above, water below, a world making itself with both heat and softness. The atmosphere of early Mars was thicker, warmer, richer than it is today. It wrapped the planet in a faint, protective blanket, holding in the heat of its young core. Rain fell for centuries at a time. Snow gathered on high volcanic slopes. Seasonal winds moved water vapor from pole to pole, leaving behind frost that glittered softly in the pale sunlight. In this warmer age, Mars changed rapidly but gracefully, like a world painting itself. In long, calm strokes, every drop of rain, every river channel carved, every lake that formed and faded, left quiet marks we can still see today. Dry deltas, curving valleys, round basins that once held standing water for millions of years. The planet was alive with motion, not with trees or animals or voices, but with the steady rhythms of fire and water. Some scientists believe that in these warm, wet centuries, Mars may have held the right conditions for life's first whispers. Warm pools, sunlight filtering through clouds, minerals dissolving into quiet waters, the same ingredients that once nurtured life on Earth. We cannot yet say for certain what stirred beneath those ancient seas, but the possibility alone gives early Mars a kind of heartbeat, a soft pulse, hidden under layers of time. But even in this age of warmth, a change was coming, silent, slow, inevitable. The core of Mars cooled just a little faster. Each million years, volcanoes erupted less often. The sky thinned bit by bit. The planet did not know it yet, but its warm chapter was drawing to a close. A world of fire and water would soon become a world of dust and quiet, not all at once, but gently, gradually, the way a long day fades into a calm night. For now, we leave Mars in its ancient glow, oceans shimmering, volcanoes breathing, rivers carving stories into the redstone. A young world alive with motion, not yet aware of the long sleep, waiting ahead. For a long time, Earth and Mars moved in harmony, two young worlds, warm and bright, carrying oceans, clouds, and fire beneath their skies. But slowly, almost without notice, their paths began to change, not in a sudden break, but in a quiet drifting, a separation written in temperature, in gravity, in the soft mathematics of time. Mars, smaller and lighter, began to cool first. Its molten core, once alive with motion, slowed, softened, and dimmed. Deep inside the planet, the churning iron that created its magnetic shield began to fall still. The heartbeat of the world grew faint, and when the magnetic field weakened, even just a little, the sky of Mars felt the change. The solar wind, a river of charged particles, flowing endlessly from the sun, pushed harder against the thinning shield, where Earth deflected that storm. With a strong magnetic guard, Mars absorbed it, day after day, century after century, until the air itself began to escape. First slowly, then faster. Atoms of oxygen and carbon dioxide lifted away into the dark. The atmosphere grew thinner, lighter, more fragile. With every passing age, clouds faded, rain weakened, lakes evaporated into the cold, rivers dried into empty channels, silent traces of the water that once shaped them. The planet was changing, a little more silence, each million years. On Earth, the story moved differently. Its larger core kept spinning strongly, protecting oceans and building storms. Its atmosphere thickened with life. Its surface shifted with plate tectonics and restless heat. Motion became a constant. Chaos, but fertile chaos. The kind that grows forests and raises mountains and fills seas with possibility. Earth kept its fire. Mars lost its warmth. And so the twins that once mirrored each other began to drift into opposite identities. One world, blue, loud, alive. The other, red, quiet, cooling. As the air of Mars escaped, the pressure dropped until liquid water could no longer rest on its surface. What remained froze at the poles, hid beneath the soil, or vanished into the thin sky. Volcanoes erupted, less and less. Tectonic motion slowed, then nearly stopped. The surface stiffened like cooling glass. Mars was still moving, still spinning, still orbiting. But inwardly, the world was calming, a long, gentle exhale that lasted hundreds of millions of years. Yet even as it quieted, Mars remained beautiful. Vast valleys stretched across its crust. Ancient riverbeds glowed under soft sunlight. Mountains rose into thin air like monuments to a past that could not last. It was not dying. It was changing into something slower, something softer, something more at peace with stillness. The warmth dwindled, the storms weakened, the oceans faded into memory, and Mars, the once vibrant twin, became the silent planet we know today. But silence is not sadness. It is only a different rhythm, a cooler, quieter pulse in the same cosmic heart. Earth and Mars still orbit together, tracing circles around the same sun, carrying their shared origin in every grain of their soil and every turn of their path. The twins did not break apart. They simply grew into themselves, one full of motion, one full of rest, two worlds diverging gently, yet forever bound by the dawn that created them both. As Mars cooled and Earth continued to warm, a quiet truth began to settle across the solar system. Motion is balance, and balance is the root of everything. Earth kept its motion, its tides, its storms, its shifting plates, its restless core turning in the dark. Mars released its motion bit by bit, letting its inner fire fade, letting its atmosphere thin, letting its surface grow still beneath a soft blanket of dust. Both paths were natural. Both paths were peaceful. Two expressions of the same physics, the same beginning, the same cosmic law. On Earth, motion became life. Waves rhythmically touched the shores. Winds carried seeds across continents not yet formed. Lightning opened new chemical pathways. Warmth lingered in the oceans. Movement created opportunity, and opportunity grew into forests, into rivers filled with sound, into creatures that would one day look up at the sky and wonder. Earth was the world that kept spinning fast enough to dream. Mars chose a different rhythm. Its days stretched a little longer. Its nights cooled a little deeper. Each century brought a little more stillness, but there is no sorrow. In that stillness, the universe has room for many tempos, some fast, some gentle, some almost silent. Mars became a place of quiet memory, a world that holds the outlines of rivers, long vanished, the echoes of volcanoes that once breathed fire, and the traces of storms that no longer rise. It is a planet still turning, just slower, softer, more at ease with silence. In this divergence between Earth and Mars, we see the balance of motion, too much movement, and a world tears itself apart. Too little, and a world goes still. But somewhere between chaos and silence lies harmony, a kind of cosmic breath, a rhythm shared by everything that exists. If you listen closely, you can feel that rhythm inside you, your heartbeat, a quiet pulse of molten iron and ancient dust, your breath rising and falling like a tide drawn by a distant moon. Each cell in your body, each atom, each electron spins softly with the same laws that shaped worlds. You are not separate. From this balance, you are made of it. Earth's motion gave rise to life. Mars's calm gave rise to silence. But both paths are valid. Both are beautiful. Both reflect the balance of motion, how the universe chooses. Not one way, but many. Earth shows what happens when motion continues. Mars shows what remains when motion slows. Together, they teach us that existence is not a race, but a spectrum, from fire to stillness, from noise to quiet, from birth to rest. And so the twins drift onward, circling the sun, one alive with motion, one alive with memory, two sides of the same cosmic breath, both turning beneath the same light, both carrying the same ancient beginning, both held in the gentle balance of motion. There was a time, long before the dust, long before the silence, when Mars was a world of water, not the dry planet we see today, not the quiet desert of thin winds and frozen ground, but a place where liquid light moved across the surface. Rivers shimmered beneath a peach-colored sky. Lakes glowed in soft golden dawns, and shallow seas stretched across valleys that are now nothing more than empty scars. It feels strange, almost impossible, to imagine Mars as a blue world, but it was. For millions of years, water shaped the red planet, the way breath shapes a song. Tonight, we drift slowly into that forgotten world, to the oceans that slept away. If you look closely at the surface of Mars today, you will see shapes that water once drew, long curving channels etched into rust-red stone, wide deltas frozen forever in silence, soft branching patterns that look like veins beneath the skin of a planet. These are the memories of rivers, rivers that carved their way through warm, pliable soil, rivers that twisted gently around small hills and sank into open lakes, now dry as ancient parchment. In places like Jezero Crater, the lines of an old delta still bloom like a ghost of motion. Rounded stones, smooth as river pebbles on earth, rest quietly where water once pressed them together and rolled them downstream. Even in sleep, Mars remembers the flow that shaped it. It cannot hide these memories. They stretch across its surface like soft, silent fingerprints left by vanished water. Where there are rivers, there must be rain, and Mars once knew rain more intimately than we ever imagined. Clouds swelled in a thick, warm atmosphere. Moisture gathered until droplets fell onto the young planet's skin. It must have sounded gentle, a soft tapping on volcanic ground, a rhythm that only water and stone could understand. But slowly, the rain began to change. The sky thinned, the air cooled. The droplets fell slower, smaller, lighter, until some evaporated before ever touching the ground. Each century brought a little less rain. Each millennium brought a little more silence. And eventually, the clouds faded, the storms quieted, the rain stopped. Mars exhaled, and the sky never called water back again. As the rain faded, the oceans of Mars began to retreat, not suddenly, but slowly, like a long breath being released. Into the cold, the seas warmed. Under a thinning atmosphere, waves flattened, their motion weakened by the loss of air pressure. Then, quietly, the water began to rise into the sky itself. Vapor drifted upward, and the solar wind carried it away, layer by layer, atom by atom, millions of years of oceans lifted off the surface and floated into space. Some of the water sank underground, sliding deeper and deeper into cracks and fractures, curling into cool shadows where sunlight could not follow. Some froze at the poles, piling up in ancient sheets of white memory. And some, perhaps the majority, was simply lost to the endless dark. The seas did not die. They didn't vanish in pain. They just drifted away, softly, quietly, like a dream, loosening its hold as morning arrives, as the waters sank and scattered. A deep cold began to settle over the planet. Mars shrank into itself, its warmth bleeding away like fading embers in a dim fire pit. Nights lengthened, days weakened, the ground cooled until frost formed around shadows that never saw the sun. And with the cold, stillness grew. Volcanoes erupted less often, their fiery breath slowing, quieting, resting. Winds lost their strength, storms faded. Even the sky seemed to grow thin enough to whisper. Mars was not freezing to death. Mars was cooling into rest, a world settling down the way a body settles under a warm blanket. At the end of a long day, the cold was not an ending. It was a transformation, the beginning of the planet's long sleep. Even now, long after the oceans left the surface, water still lives on Mars, not in roaring seas, not in rushing rivers, but in quiet places beneath the ground, in frozen reservoirs, locked under ancient soil, in the poles as vast, silent sheets of ice that glow softly beneath the thin sun, in minerals holding tiny fragments of long-lost moisture between layers of crystal. The water never truly left. It simply moved deeper inward, like a memory tucked gently into the corners of a dreaming mind. Mars carries that memory, still, quiet, patient, waiting for a warmth that may one day return. At the end of Mars's warm age, a few lonely lakes clung to the land, shallow pools, almost motionless, mirroring the dim sun as though trying to hold the last fragments of a world that was slipping away. The edges dried first, then the center. The last drops shimmered for a moment in the thin orange air, and then were gone. In those final years of warmth, Mars must have been beautiful in a quiet, melancholy way. Soft ice crystals forming around shrinking shores, mist lifting gently before dissolving into nothing. A world exhaling its last warm breath. And then, as silence settled in, the lakes slept too. When the waters left, They did not leave scars. They left stories. Stories written in stone, in dust, in the soft curves of a world that once knew flow. The ground cracked gently as it dried. Silt hardened into pale memory, and a thin wind moved lightly across empty plains where waves once sang. The oceans slept away, the rivers hushed, the rain grew still, and Mars, in its quiet transformation, became the world of silence. We know today, but silence is not emptiness. It is simply another form of motion, a slower one, a gentler one, a rhythm deep enough to soothe even the stars. Now, as we drift deeper into the story of this planet, we step from water into dust, from memory into quiet, from flow into rest. Because once the ocean slept, another chapter began. A chapter written not in waves, but in wind, not in storm, but in stillness, not in water, but in the soft red dust of a planet learning how to dream. There is a kind of silence that only old worlds know, a silence shaped not by stillness, but by motion that has finally come to rest. On Mars, that silence stretches across plains of rust, over mountains that once breathed fire, and through valleys carved by winds older than memory. Tonight, we drift into this landscape of frozen motion, into the home of volcanoes that no longer rise, winds that never truly end, and ghosts made of nothing more than dust and light. Mars may be quiet now, but every grain of its soil remembers movement. Long before it grew cold, Mars was alive with fire. Lava moved slowly beneath the surface, pushing, stretching, lifting the crust like the slow breath of a sleeping giant. Volcanoes rose, one eruption at a time, their heat glowing through thick air that held warmth close. Even now, millions of years later, the shapes remain, broad, gentle slopes, reaching toward a thin sky, reminding us that once the planet burned from within. There is no sound now, no rising ash, no trembling ground, only the memory of ancient fire held in stone that cools a little more with each passing century. Mars is a museum of its own past, a gallery of forms sculpted by heat, now frozen by time. Among these monuments stands one shape, larger than all the rest, Olympus Mons, a mountain so vast, so wide that it defies intuition. Its base is the size of a country. Its height is nearly 3 times Everest, and yet its slopes are gentle, so gentle you might not notice. You are climbing, even after walking for hours. It is a volcano built from millions of slow eruptions, not violent, not sudden, but patient, layer upon layer of cooled lava stacked softly toward the sky. If mountains could breathe, this one once did. If mountains could dream, it would dream slowly in deep red tones. Today, Olympus Mons sleeps. Its heart is cold, its vents are sealed, its fires are gone, but standing in imagination at its summit, you can almost feel a faint warmth rising from memories that have not yet faded. A giant, not defeated, but resting beyond Olympus Mons lies the Tharsis Rise, a wide plateau that lifts half a continent toward the sky. 3 massive volcanoes stand there in a line: Arsia Mons, Pavonis Mons, Ascraeus Mons, like 3 ancient watchers facing the horizon. Their peaks pierce the thin atmosphere, their shadows stretch for hundreds of miles, and the slopes, wrinkled and cracked, tell the slow story of a world shaping itself through heat. The Tharsis region tilted the entire planet. Its weight shifted Mars's axis, reshaped its climate, and redirected its winds. All of this from fire that no longer burns. Here, motion has ended, but its imprint remains eternal. A frozen wave in a sea that cooled too soon, where fire faded, wind endured. The atmosphere of Mars may be thin, but its winds travel far. They move softly like the breath of something dreaming, but they do not stop. These winds lift dust from one side of the planet and carry it across deserts and plains until the world is covered in a red veil. Dust storms can rise slowly from a single whisper, then spread until they surround the entire planet, not with rage, not with thunder, just with endless, gentle motion. When sunlight hits Mars, during these storms, the whole world glows faintly like a lantern wrapped in orange silk. The winds do not rush. They drift. They sweep. They wander. On Mars, wind is not weather. It is time. Every so often, the thin air twists into spirals that rise from the ground like pale spirits, dust devils, tall, thin columns of swirling powder. They appear without warning, spin silently across empty plains, then vanish as quickly as they formed. Some stretch as high as skyscrapers. Some move gently through crater floors, drawing faint signatures in the sand. To the rovers who explore Mars Dust devils are both ghosts and helpers. Sometimes one passes over a rover's solar panels and clears away weeks of accumulated dust, giving the machine a little more time in the sun. A quiet gift, a silent gesture from the wandering wind, and when they leave no trace, as if they were never there. Ghosts of motion, shapes made of air and memory. Every few years, the winds of Mars gather enough strength to encircle the world. A global dust storm, a curtain of fine red particles lifted into the sky until day becomes a muted orange and night glows faintly with diffused light. To stand on Mars during one of these storms would not be frightening. There would be no roar, no violent gusts, just a dim haze closing in from every direction. The planet wraps itself in a soft blanket, a blanket of dust it has carried for billions of years. These storms can last weeks, sometimes months. They move slowly, like the shifting of long, deep thoughts. And when they settle, a thin layer of red dust lies gently over everything, a reminder that even silence can move. Fire built Mars, wind reshaped it, and together they left echoes on every surface. Old lava flows stretch like frozen rivers. Sharp ridges outline the path of once molten rock. Sand dunes slide inch by inch across crater floors, carried by winds that do not hurry. In some places, dust settles in delicate ripples, patterns so soft they look like the breath of a ghost. Brushing the surface, on cliffs and rocks, thin lines mark the slow, steady work of erosion. Nothing sudden, nothing loud. Mars changes. The way a sleeping body adjusts beneath a blanket, quietly, gently, almost unseen, the planet no longer moves with fire, but it remembers motion through dust. Every grain is a story, every dune a sentence, every storm a whisper from an age when Mars was young and restless, and now in this world of cooled mountains and wandering winds, a new kind of motion has arrived. Small machines built by distant hands roll slowly across the surface. Their wheels press softly into ancient soil. Their cameras blink in thin sunlight. They listen to the wind. They study the stone. They search for the breath that might still linger beneath the dust. Spirit, opportunity, curiosity, perseverance. Tiny explorers moving gently through a giant's dream. Soon We follow them into craters where rivers once flowed, into deltas shaped by ancient tides, into the quiet places where Mars may still hold a memory of life. Part 4 awaits, the search for breath, but for now, just rest. Let the winds of this quiet planet carry you a little deeper into sleep. There is a special kind of silence that exists only on Mars, a silence so gentle, so steady, that even the smallest motion feels like a whisper against an ancient dream. Into that silence, we sent our own quiet travelers, small machines, soft wheels, tiny blinking eyes, carrying questions older than civilization itself, questions about life, about beginnings, about breath. Is the story of those travelers and the long, patient search for even the faintest sign that Mars once knew how to breathe. When the first landers reached Mars, they touched down as gently as a hand resting on a sleeping shoulder. Viking 1, in 1976, was the first to break the planet's solitude. It landed on quiet soil, golden brown, untouched for billions of years. No sound greeted it, no wind, no motion, only the thin sigh of a world that had long ago grown used to being alone. Viking stretched out its instruments, slow, careful, almost shy, and began to look for life. Not life as we imagine it. No trees, no animals, no cities lost under dust. Just a chemical breath, a hint of metabolism, a tiny imbalance in the soil that could only be explained by something alive. The results were strange, conflicting, inconclusive. A whisper, but never a voice. And so the question remained. Decades passed, and Mars waited, unmoving, untroubled, spinning slowly under pale sunlight. Then more travelers came. Sojourner arrived first, a tiny rover, no bigger than a toy, rolling on wheels that crackled softly over pebbles that had not felt motion in ages. It took pictures, measured rocks, listened to the wind, and in doing so, it awakened something in our imagination. Mars wasn't dead, not truly. It was simply waiting. 2 larger rovers followed, Spirit and Opportunity, twins, just like Earth and Mars themselves. They landed in 2004, far apart, on the sleeping planet. Spirit touched down in Gusev crater, a place that once held a lake. Opportunity landed in Meridiani Planum, a plain covered in small round stones called blueberries, tiny beads of hematite, made by water. Water, always water, always the quiet hint that Mars once moved with the rhythm of life. Spirit rolled across slopes of volcanic rock. It looked for traces of ancient heat, for minerals formed by steam, for signs of a world once warm enough for liquid dreams. Its wheels carved gentle lines in the dust, lines that the wind would one day erase, but not yet. Spirit climbed hills, studied broken stones, tasted soil with instruments delicately placed, like careful fingers touching a fragile relic. And then, after years of wandering, it grew tired. Its wheel broke. The sand held it. The cold crept in. Spirit sent one last whisper, a transmission so soft it felt like a sigh, and then it fell silent. Not lost, not dead, just silent, the way Mars itself is silent. A traveler that merged with the stillness it had come to explore. On the other side of the planet, opportunity continued the search. Days turned to years, years turned to a decade, and still it moved over dunes, into craters, across ridges made by ancient water. It found evidence of shallow seas, of minerals shaped by gentle waves, of shorelines that had long ago fallen quiet. It even survived storms, dust storms so wide they wrapped the planet in orange haze. During one storm, when sunlight vanished, for weeks, opportunity waited, cold, still, listening to the red wind as if it were listening for a heartbeat. And when the sky cleared, it woke again. One rover, in the emptiness of Mars, moving with the determination of a small mechanical soul. Its final message, years later, was simple and soft. My battery is low, and it's getting dark. A sentence as human as anything we've ever heard from a machine. When opportunity slept, it joined spirit in the long, quiet rest of the planet. Then came curiosity, larger, stronger, powered not by sunlight, but by the slow, steady warmth of radioactive decay. A rover with no need to fear the dark. Curiosity landed inside Gale Crater near the base of Howe. Mount Sharp, a mountain made not by fire but by layers of ancient sediment. Each layer a page in a book that only Mars could have written. Curiosity drilled into stone, studied clay, measured methane in the air, a gas that on Earth is often a whisper of life. Sometimes methane spiked unexpectedly, briefly, softly, a faint breath in the thin atmosphere, not enough to confirm life, but enough to wonder enough to dream. Curiosity continues to wander today, still alone, still patient, still reading the planet, one layer at a time. Now, a new traveler walks the dust. Perseverance, the most advanced rover yet, landed in Jezero crater, an ancient river delta shaped by water that once flowed with grace and softness. Jezero is a place built by movement, sediments stacked gently like feathers, channels branching like veins, minerals left behind by evaporating streams. If Mars ever held life, even tiny life, even microbial life, even a chemistry trying to breathe, Jezero is where it might be found. Perseverance drills core samples, places them in small tubes, and sets them aside for a future mission. To bring home, it listens to the wind. It photographs the sky. It studies every curve, every grain, every whisper of ancient water. Beside it, a smaller companion once danced in the air. The helicopter Ingenuity, the first aircraft to fly on another planet. Its wings beat softly in the thin Martian air, each flight a reminder that even in a world this quiet, motion can still be born. Across decades and missions, the rovers have found many clues. They found minerals shaped by water, stones smoothed by flow, clay formed by lakes, salts left behind by evaporating pools, organic molecules stirring faintly within the soil. They found the conditions for life, the potential for life, the possibility of life, but they have not yet found the life itself. No fossils, no cells, no organisms, no final answer, only hints, only maybes, only the softest suggestion that Mars once knew how to breathe, but sometimes a whisper is enough. Methane, a simple gas, a fragile gas easily destroyed by sunlight, and yet sometimes it appears in tiny amounts in the Martian air. Curiosity has measured it. Orbiters have detected it. Sometimes it rises, sometimes it falls. No pattern, no certainty. On Earth, methane often means something living is nearby. On Mars, it means something interesting is happening. Maybe geology, maybe chemistry, maybe something more. A faint breath, a small exhale, a quiet pulse in the stillness. A mystery that refuses to go away. There is a kind of beauty in the loneliness of the rovers. They move slowly, steadily, like pilgrims crossing a silent temple. They do not rush. They do not fear, they do not complain, they simply continue across dunes, across stones, across ancient riverbeds that once held the motion of water. Each traveller adds one more line to the story of Mars, one more clue, one more quiet breath on a world where no human has ever walked. Our machines walk for us, and in their slow, deliberate motions, we hear an echo of our own longing, a longing to understand, to explore, to know if we are truly alone in the universe. And so the search continues, not with shouts, not with urgency, but with patience, with quiet, with small wheels rolling softly across old ground. Mars holds its breath a little longer. Our rovers listen, and somewhere beneath the dust, beneath the stone, beneath the cold, an answer waits. Maybe life was there. Maybe it is still there. Maybe it will be found, not by machines, but by human footsteps, one distant day. For now, we drift with the rovers into the quietest places of the planet, the riverbeds, the deltas, the sediments layered like pages of a forgotten book. We follow them into the heart of a world that once knew water, once knew warmth, and maybe, just maybe, once knew life, because the search for breath is not only a scientific quest, it is a human one, and the story is not over. There are moments in exploration when a world we study suddenly feels as if it is studying us back. Mars is one of those worlds. We look at it through telescopes, through rovers, through dreams we carry quietly from childhood. But Mars, in its stillness, in its silence, in its unchanging red light, reflects something about us. It is a mirror, a red mirror, showing not only what Mars once was, but what we are. Now, tonight, we look into that mirror gently and let it show us the shapes we often forget to see. Mars began as Earth's sibling, born from the same cloud, carved from the same dust, spinning under the same Sunday, and yet the two worlds grew apart. Earth kept its oceans, Mars lost them. Earth kept its air, Mars let it go. Earth blossomed with life, Mars settled into silence. Two twins, one vibrant, one fading softly into stillness. But even as the planets diverged, their stories remained linked. Because to look at Mars is to imagine a version of Earth that cooled too fast, lost its magnetic shield, and watched its seas dry into dust. Mars shows us how fragile warmth is, how precious movement is, how delicate the balance of life can be. It shows us that even worlds can choose different destinies, and yet neither is wrong. Both are beautiful in their own way. There is a loneliness to Mars that feels strangely familiar. The wide plains, the endless horizon, the long shadows that fall across ancient dunes, the quiet after a dust devil fades. Mars is empty, but not in a painful way. Empty, like a room that has not yet been lived in. Empty, like a page waiting for words. When we look at Mars, we project our own solitude onto its surface. We see the things we fear losing: water, warmth, the delicate breath of living things. And in that red emptiness, we also see a soft reflection of something deeply human, our longing for connection, a longing for other minds. In the vast, silent, dark, Mars does not answer. It does not speak. It does not comfort. It simply waits. And through its waiting, it teaches. Sometimes a mirror is not meant to reflect what is seen, but what is felt. Why do we search Mars so carefully, so passionately, so endlessly? Why do we send one rover after another, knowing each one may find nothing but dust? Because the search is not only scientific, it is emotional. To find life on Mars would be to find a second chapter in the story of biology, a reassurance that life is not rare, not fragile, not limited to a single blue world. And if life could begin on Mars, in small pools, in warm sediments, in the quiet shadows of ancient lakes, then life could begin almost anywhere. To search for breath on Mars is to search for the possibility that we are not alone. And even if we never find it, the act of searching reveals something about who we are. We are creatures who seek meaning in silence, who chase connection across impossible distances, who look at a dead world and still imagine life. Mars reflects that relentless hope back at us, a hope that refuses to fall asleep. Long before rovers, long before spacecraft, Mars lived in our imagination. Ancient peoples saw its red glow and wondered. Some feared it, some worshipped it, some told stories to explain its wandering path across the sky. To the Greeks, it was Ares. To the Romans, Mars. To the Babylonians, Nergal. To others, a sign of war, or fate, or mystery. But beneath the myths was something softer, a fascination with a world that looked almost like ours, yet remained forever unreachable. In the 19th century, some astronomers believed They saw canals, lines etched across the surface, like the work of distant engineers. It was an illusion, but a powerful one. It awakened dreams of civilizations, cities under glass, and minds looking back at us. Those dreams did not fade. They simply changed. Today, the stories we tell about Mars are gentler, more curious, more hopeful. We dream of rovers, of astronauts, of small habitats, glowing in the dusk, warming the dust with human presence. Mars is no longer the god of war. It is a symbol of resilience, of longing, of curiosity that refuses to quiet. A mirror, not of violence, but of imagination. Mars also reminds us what can be lost. Its dry riverbeds show what happens when water disappears. Its thin sky shows what happens when a planet loses its shield. Its frozen soil shows how quickly warmth can fade. Earth is vibrant now, full of breath, full of movement, full of color. But Mars teaches that this vibrance is not guaranteed. That life, even on a planet, needs balance, protection, motion, heat. In this way, Mars becomes a quiet warning, a gentle echo of a future we must avoid. It does not shout, it does not scold, it does not threaten. It only shows what silence looks like on a planetary scale. And sometimes a soft warning is more powerful than a loud one. But Mars reflects not only caution, it reflects peace. A peace so deep that it feels almost sacred. Sand dunes curve like breath. Dust falls in slow spirals. Rocks sit exactly where they landed millions of years ago. Nothing rushes, nothing pushes, nothing competes. On Earth, we fill our days with noise, with hurry, with motion. Mars invites us to slow, to quiet, to match its rhythm, steady, soft, uncomplicated. A world at rest. A world that reminds us that rest, too, is part of existence. In the red mirror, we see a reflection of the calm we often forget to give ourselves. Through its silence, its emptiness, its vast red plains, Mars reflects something profoundly human. Our fragility, our curiosity, our loneliness, our hope, our fear, our longing to find meaning in the stars. It reflects our desire for connection, even with a world that cannot answer. It reflects our capacity to imagine life in a place where none is found. It reflects the dream that perhaps someday we will stand there under a salmon sky next to a sleeping mountain and breathe new air into the red planet. Mars mirrors our past, our possible futures, and the quiet truths we rarely speak, truths about what it means to be alive in a universe so wide and so silent. Now, as we drift away from the red mirror, we carry with us the reflections it offered, a world that sleeps, showing us how to rest, a world that changed, teaching us how to endure, a world without life, revealing why life is precious. And ahead of us, in the dust, another story begins, a story of movement, of exploration, of the first soft marks we leave on a world that has not known footsteps for billions of years. Part 6 awaits, Footsteps in the Dust. For now, let the quiet of Mars settle gently around you. Let the red mirror dim slowly into sleep and drift with it softly into the next chapter. There are planets that roar, planets that blaze, planets that shake the stars with their storms and fire. And then there is Mars, a world that learned how to sleep, not in darkness, not in emptiness, but in a quiet so deep, so steady that every grain of dust drifts as though time itself has softened. Tonight, we walk slowly into that stillness. We rest inside it. We let it show us how a planet can sleep and still be so achingly beautiful. Mars wasn't always calm. Once, it echoed with eruptions, with rivers, with storms that curled across its sky in spirals of fire and water. But motion, like all things, changes. The core cooled, the air thinned, the seas drifted away, and the world began to settle like a giant pulling a blanket of dust over itself before drifting into rest. This is not the silence of death. It is the silence of a long exhale, the kind that comes after billions of years of work. Mars is not gone, it is resting, and in its rest there is softness. A Martian night arrives gently. The sun shrinks into the horizon, small, pale, distant. The sky deepens into shades of lavender and wine. A faint blue halo gathers around the setting light, a last whisper before the cold takes over. As darkness falls, the temperature drops with surprising grace. Cold air settles into craters. Shadows stretch across the dunes, long and slow, as if they are falling asleep too. The stars emerge, sharp and steady, far brighter than they ever appear. On Earth, for there is no thick air to blur them, two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, glide silently overhead. They move quickly, Phobos rising and setting multiple times. In one Martian day, they cast thin, trembling shadows. As they pass, shadows that touch no living thing, only dust, only stone, only the quiet. A Martian night is not frightening, it is peaceful, a blanket for a planet that sleeps. The valleys of Mars are some of the quietest places in the solar system. Valles Marineris, a canyon system so vast it stretches across the width of an entire continent. If you stood at its edge, you would feel a kind of awe that empties the mind, a drop 4 times deeper than the Grand Canyon. Walls so tall they fade into dusty haze. Silence so complete you could hear your own heartbeat inside your suit. Inside those depths, there is no wind strong enough to disturb the dust, no sound to carry across the gorge, no motion except your own. Time feels thicker there, slower, as if the canyon itself is dreaming. You are only a visitor in a landscape that has been quiet for ages, a landscape content to remain as it is. At the poles of Mars, ice gathers in layers as old as ancient Earth. White caps circle the planet, glowing faintly under the pale Sunday. They expand in winter, retreat in summer, breathing in slow rhythms that only a frozen world can keep. Here, temperatures fall to depths few places in the universe match. Shadows stretch endlessly over fields of frost that have not melted in millions of years. Stand there long enough and you will feel the stillness settle into you. The ice is not waiting for warmth. It simply exists in peaceful rest, and beneath it, water sleeps. Ancient water, lost oceans, compressed into cold memory. If Mars is a sleeper, then the poles are its dreams. Even on a sleeping planet, wind moves, but the winds of Mars are not like Earth's. They do not howl, they do not rush, they drift, they sweep, they wander, a soft brushing across the dunes, a gentle lifting of powdered rust, a long, slow push that travels mile after mile without ever growing loud. The wind on Mars is the motion of a world resting without waking. It covers old footprints, it smooths dunes, it clears dust from rover panels. like a hand brushing crumbs from a table. It is not a force of change. It is a caretaker, a quiet keeper of a quiet world. And like all things on Mars, it moves slowly enough for sleep. Olympus Mons, Tharsis, Elysium, names spoken like myth. But these are not angry mountains. They are monuments to motion that no longer exists. Olympus Mons rises calmly. From the ground, it slopes, so gentle that the climb feels like walking on a sleeping giant. The Tharsis Montes stand in a line, 3 watchers, frozen in eternal dusk. They once roared, they once glowed, they once shook the crust beneath them. Now they are quiet, silent sculptures in an endless gallery of red. When you look at them, you do not feel fear. You feel peace, a peace born not of absence, but of completion. Their work is done. Their fire has gone inward. They sleep like old gods who no longer need to speak. On Mars, silence is a physical thing. It shapes dunes into crescent curves. It hardens soil into cracked mosaics. It paints slopes with gentle patterns of dust and frost. There are places where the ground looks like snow, soft waves of pale sand, places where shadows lay still for hours without shifting, places where you can walk for a long time and leave only the faintest trace. Silence is not the absence of life. Silence is the shape a planet takes when it rests, and Mars is very, very well rested. There is something deeply soothing about Mars. Its colours, soft reds, burnt oranges, muted browns, are the colours of warmth without heat. Its winds are the sigh of a creature that dreams but does not wake. Its sky is thin, simple, honest. Nothing rushes, nothing demands, nothing interrupts. Even the sun moves slowly across the horizon, making shadows stretch and shrink in quiet rhythm. When we look at Mars, we see peace, because Mars is peace, not fragile peace, not temporary peace, but peace carved into stone, peace that has lasted for billions of years. A calm beyond human understanding, a world that sleeps, and in doing so reminds us how to rest. If Earth is a world of motion, then Mars is a world of stillness, a teacher of patience, of quiet, of softness in the largest forms. Mars teaches that not all beauty is born from movement. Some beauty comes from letting go, from cooling, from settling, from allowing time to slow without fear. Mars teaches that a world can be whole even after losing its oceans, its warmth, its storms. Mars teaches that rest can be a kind of strength, and that sometimes silence is the truest form of survival. As we leave part 7, carry with you the image of a world resting beneath the stars, a world that once moved with fire, with storms, with rivers, but now moves only in memory. Ahead lies an even deeper question. If Mars sleeps so deeply, what keeps its dreams alive? In part 8, we explore the balance between motion and rest, and how Mars, even in sleep, remains part of the cosmic rhythm. But for now, let your breath slow to match the planets. Let your thoughts settle like dust along the red plains, and rest just as Mars rests, quietly, softly, completely. Every world turns, some slowly, some quickly, some with wobbling axes, some with tilts, so gentle they barely change their seasons. But all of them spin, all of them move. Spin is the quiet heartbeat of planets, the subtle motion that gives shape to day and night, to wind and shadow, to balance itself. Tonight, we drift into a deep question, one that reaches beyond Mars, beyond Earth, beyond all stars. Without spin, could any world ever find balance? The answer, like the universe, moves slowly. Spin is everywhere, in atoms where electrons dance, around protons, in quiet, unseen loops, in stars, glowing spheres, turning gently over millions of years, in galaxies, vast spirals, rotating together in silent harmony, and in planets, spheres of dust and stone, spinning from the moment they are born. Spin is not loud. Spin is not dramatic. Spin is the universe's softest rhythm, a pulse so ancient that even time seems to follow it. If motion is breath, then spin is the inhale that never ends. When a star is born, it forms from a collapsing cloud of dust and gas. As the cloud contracts, it spins faster, like a figure skater pulling in their arms. This spin is conserved, protected, passed from star to the planets that form around it. Earth inherited its spin. Mars inherited its spin. Every world was born, turning, and that turning became structure, became weather, became climate, became balance. Spin is not an accessory, it is a necessity. It is the quiet engineer behind every day and every night. Earth spins quickly, one rotation every 24 hours. Mars spins too, almost the same speed, a day, just 40 minutes longer. This similarity creates familiarity. Sunrise on Mars feels like sunrise on Earth. Shadows move in similar arcs. Nights fall with the same steady rhythm. But beneath this surface lies a deeper truth. Earth's spin feeds its magnetic field. Mars's spin no longer does. Earth's core still churns. Its molten iron still moves. With strong, confident rotation, Mars's core has cooled, grown quiet, lost its inner motion. Two planets, spinning at the same pace, but with different hearts. And those hearts shape everything above. Earth kept balance. Mars watched its balance fade. Spin alone was not enough. The motion within mattered more. Imagine a world that still spins on the outside, but slows within. Its core growing quiet. Its magnetic field weakening. Its shield softening. Without spin inside, the protection fades. Solar wind strips the sky. Atmosphere thins. Water evaporates. Heat leaks away. This is what happened to Mars. Not because it lacks spin, but because its inner spin fell out of balance. A planet can keep rotating, yet still lose its ability to hold itself together. Mars teaches this gently, quietly, without complaint. A world can appear to move, but inside be completely still, and in that stillness, balance shifts. Let's drift into a thought experiment. Imagine a world with no rotation, no turning, no spin. One side faces eternal daylight, scorched, blinding, unbearably hot. The other faces endless night, frozen, black, still as vacuum. Between them, a narrow twilight band, the only region where life could possibly survive. A world split into two extremes. A world with no rhythm of sunrise or sunset. A world without balance. Spin is what prevents this. Spin takes extremes and softens them. Spin turns harshness into cycles, into dawns and dusks, into seasons, into weather, into habits that life can understand. Without spin, there is no balance, only division. On Earth, spin spreads heat around the globe. day warms, night cools, each takes turns, tucking the other in. Without that rotation, one side would burn, while the other darkened into ice. On Mars, spin still moderates its temperature, keeping the world from freezing entirely on one side and boiling on the other. Even a thin atmosphere relies on the turning. Even dust moves with the rhythm set by rotation. Spin keeps the cold and warmth in conversation. It is the mediator between extremes, a planetary lullaby sung in circles, and air shapes life or its possibility. Asterisk, asterisk. Wind exists because planets spin, not the violent storms, but the gentle drift, the soft breeze, the circulation that carries warmth and moisture and potential. Without spin, air stagnates, stands still, divides, separates. A spinning world keeps its air alive. Even Mars, with its thin breath of carbon dioxide, still stirs, because it turns. Dust floats, storms drift, shadows move, temperature cycles from dawn to dusk. Movement makes balance. Balance makes possibility. Even the possibility of life. What does that mean for us? Asterisk, asterisk. Spin is not just mechanical, not just physical. It is philosophical. It is the universe saying, nothing rests forever. Even stillness is made of motion, too small or slow to see. Our hearts spin blood through our veins. Our minds spin thoughts through our dreams. Our planet spins us through space. Our galaxy spins us through the cosmos. We are made of motion, even when we sleep, even now. So what does Mars tell us? It tells us that spin is precious. That motion is a kind of life. That imbalance comes quietly when inner motion fades. And that balance, true balance, is not found in stillness alone, but in harmony between movement and rest. Mars may sleep, but it still spins, and that spin gives it rhythm. Soft days, cool nights, shadows drifting slowly across red stone, seasons stretching long and thin, a balance without oceans, without forests, without storms, a quiet balance, a fragile balance, a beautiful balance, a world that rests while still turning, a reminder that motion does not need to be loud, to be powerful. Mars is balanced because it spins. It would not exist as it is without that gentle rotation. Even in sleep, spin holds it together, a thread running through its long silence. As we leave part 8, carry this quiet truth. Everything turns. Everything breathes. Everything moves in circles of its own scale. Planets spin, stars spin, galaxies spin. Life spins too. In the next part, we follow that idea into the heart of living things, into DNA, into cells, into the small helices and spirals that build us from the inside out, because motion is not only cosmic, it is biological, it is intimate, it is personal. And if planets need spin for balance, so do we. But for now, rest with the turning of Mars. Let its slow rotation steady your breath. Let its ancient rhythm calm your thoughts and drift gently to the next chapter. There is a pattern hidden gently within everything that lives, a motion so quiet, so ancient, that most of the time we never notice it. It is the motion that builds us, shapes us, keeps us moving, even while we sleep. Life spins, just like planets, just like stars, just like galaxies, drifting through the dark. Tonight, we follow that spin, not through space, but inward into the soft machinery of life itself. Carry the greatest meaning, asterisk, asterisk. If you look closely at anything alive, a leaf, a cell, a strand of hair, you will find spirals, curled patterns, twisting forms, gentle loops. Life uses rotation, the way planets do, to create order, to build stability, to hold balance where chaos might otherwise rise. Nothing in life is still, not truly. Even silence has motion, even rest has rhythm. Life spins because the universe taught it how, inside every cell of every creature on earth, from a blade of grass to a human heart, is DNA, two strands winding together, twisting like a cosmic staircase, a double helix that turns and turns and turns. It spins when it copies itself. It spins when cells divide. It spins when life grows or heals or takes its first breath. When you breathe in, millions of tiny helices unwind and rewind inside you. When you sleep, they keep turning, quietly, faithfully, never asking for attention. DNA is the first reminder that life is movement, a spiral holding the memory of every ancestor you have ever had, a spiral that echoes the shape of galaxies, a spiral made from the same laws that shape planets. You are built from spinning things engines that rotate, asterisk, asterisk. Life is full of tiny engines. Inside your cells, there are proteins that turn like microscopic turbines. ATP synthase, one of them, rotates to create the energy you use to move, to think, to dream. Every second, millions of these little wheels are spinning inside you, creating warmth, creating motion, creating life. They never rest, not fully. Even in sleep, they continue, slow, soft, steady. Your entire body is a symphony of quiet rotations, like a galaxy made small, like a solar system folded into flesh. You are a spinning universe made of cells. Even your heart moves in spirals. Its muscles twist and coil like a soft helix, wringing blood through chambers in smooth, rotational waves. The heartbeat is not a simple pulse. It is a spiral motion, a gentle twist of biological fabric. Your heart turns with every beat, and as it does, it echoes the slow rotation of planets, a small rhythm reflecting a much larger one, a rhythm that begins before you are born and continues until your very last moment. Your heartbeat is your personal planet, your own spinning world, carrying you through life. Look around the living world, and spirals are everywhere. The swirl of a seashell, the curl of a fern, the twist of a hurricane, the arms of a galaxy, the pattern of a fingerprint. Life repeats the same geometry again and again because it works, because it is stable, because it is beautiful. Nature chooses spirals because they hold balance. With almost no effort, they are the shapes of growth, of expansion, of harmony. Life spirals because the universe spirals. Life spins because existence spins. We think of sleep as stillness, but sleep is full of movement. Your breath deepens, slows, but never stops. Your heart softens, but keeps its spiral rhythm. Your cells repair, your DNA rewinds, your brain conducts slow waves of electrical motion, moving gently across the cortex like tides. Even your dreams move in spirals, images looping, thoughts circling, memories drifting like planets in wide mental orbits. Sleep is not the absence of motion. It is motion filtered through peace, like Mars, a world that still turns even when it rests. If life ever existed on Mars, even the smallest microbe in an ancient pool, it would have spiraled, it would have rotated, it would have followed the same geometric code that life on Earth follows. Because life, wherever it appears, must obey the laws of motion. If Mars once breathed, it breathed in spirals. If Mars once held life, it held tiny turning engines like the ones inside you. If Mars once lived, it lived through rotation. That connection, that mirrored motion, links us to a world that sleeps now, links our hearts to ancient water, links our DNA to ancient dust. We search Mars, not only to find life, but to find our own reflection, our own spinning origins in its quiet stones. Even to us, asterisk, asterisk, there is a reason people feel calm when they rock back and forth, when they sway, when they lie on a ship and feel it move. Beneath them, there is a reason children sleep when gently swung, a reason we are soothed by the motion of trains, of waves, of turning fans. Motion is our oldest memory. Before birth, we floated, rocked by the gentle rhythms of a mother's body. Our earliest existence was movement, a slow rotation inside warm darkness. So when we feel a soft, steady motion, part of us returns to that memory. Spin is safety. Spin is home. Spin is the cradle that carried us into life. The universe moves in circles, so do we. There are times when life loses its rhythm. Stress, exhaustion, worry, fear. These things interrupt our inner motion. Our breaths shorten, our hearts tighten, our thoughts tangle, instead of turning smoothly. Mars teaches us something about that moment, the moment when inner motion fades. A world can still spin on the outside and be frozen within. So can we. The key is to restore the quiet rotation, the gentle inner movement that keeps us balanced. And that is what sleep is for. Sleep is the way life resets its spin. Sleep is how we realign with the universe's rhythm. Sleep is our personal planetary rotation, a slow turn back toward balance. Life spins, planets spin, stars spin, galaxies spin. Everything moves in circles, and in those circles, balance is found. Identity is found. Meaning is found. Rest is found. As we close part 9, carry this truth gently. You are made of spirals. You are sustained by rotation. You are connected to Mars, to Earth, to the cosmos, through the simple fact that you turn with them. And now we drift into the final chapter, part 10, a chapter about motion and breath and the quiet truth that the universe does not live in straight lines. It lives in cycles, in rhythms, in turning worlds and turning hearts. But for now, let your own breath rise and fall like a gentle rotation. Let your thoughts circle softly into stillness. Life spins, and in that spin, you can rest. There is a truth older than stars, a truth written into every atom, every planet, every life that has ever taken a breath. A truth so gentle we rarely notice it, and so vast it holds the entire cosmos together. The universe breathes through motion, not a breath like ours, not lungs, not air, not sound, but a breath made of cycles, of rising and falling, turning and returning, beginning and beginning again. Tonight, as we drift into the quiet end of this long journey, we follow that breath through the stillness of Mars, through the rhythm of life, and into the heartbeat of the cosmos itself. The universe began with a burst, not a violent scream, but a spreading, an unfolding, a soft opening of space and possibility. From that beginning, motion has never stopped. Galaxies spun from clouds of light. Stars rotated as they ignited. Planets turned as they cooled. Everywhere, motion carried meaning. Even now, billions of years later, that first movement still echoes in the slow turning of worlds like Mars, a world that once burned, once flowed, and now rests, still turning through the quiet. Motion was the universe's first breath. If you watch a star long enough, not with your eyes, but with your imagination, you will see that even its stillness is an illusion. Inside, plasma churns, light ripples, heat pulses in slow waves that rise and fall like a cosmic inhale, a cosmic exhale. Stars breathe through fusion and release, through pressure and easing, through expansion and contraction. A star is a lung of light. The sun, the one that warms Earth and paints Mars in soft peach color, is breathing now, slowly, deeply, steadily. Its breath fills the solar system with energy that moves through planets like a tide. Without that breath, nothing would turn, nothing would grow, nothing would live. Even galaxies breathe. They rotate like giant pinwheels of dust and fire. They expand and contract over eons. Stars are born in glowing clouds. Breathe in, stars die and return their materials to space. Breathe out. Energy flows in cycles so wide we cannot measure them in lifetimes. But the rhythm remains, a rhythm the universe has never forgotten, a rhythm present in the smallest cell and the largest structure ever created. If Mars has taught us anything, it is that motion does not disappear. It transforms. The rivers that once flowed have become valleys, memories carved in stone. The volcanoes that once rose with glowing breath have become soft mountains, memories of fire now asleep. The winds that once shaped dunes are still moving, slowly, carefully, with the ease of something ancient. Mars's motion is quieter now, almost unnoticeable, but it is still there. And in that gentle persistence, Mars teaches that rest is not the opposite of motion. It is a different kind of motion, a deeper one, a softer one, a calmer one. The universe remembers itself through every movement, even in sleep. We too carry motion. Our hearts turn blood in spirals. Our lungs rise and fall like tidal waves. Our thoughts circle through memories, through dreams, through quiet corners of our inner world. Even when we sleep, our bodies rotate through cycles. Light sleep, deep sleep, dreams, a nightly orbit around the center of our own consciousness. We are made from the same patterns that move planets, the same geometry that builds galaxies, builds our cells. The universe breathes through us. It always has. It always will. Balance is not stillness. Balance is movement in harmony. A spinning top does not stand still to stay upright. It moves constantly. Earth stays warm through its spinning. Mars stays cold but stable through its spinning. Even the moon keeps its shape through slow rotation. Motion is stability. Motion is safety. Motion is existence. If the universe ever stopped moving, it would unravel. If we ever stopped moving, not our bodies, but our thoughts, our breath, our inner rhythm, we would unravel too. Everything depends on the quiet continuity of motion. There are places in the cosmos that appear perfectly still. Frozen plains, silent moons, nebulas drifting like feathers in the dark. But even there, motion persists. Atoms vibrate Particles spin, space stretches, time flows. A sleeping planet is still moving. A dead star still bends space. A quiet galaxy still rotates with invisible grace. Stillness is motion that whispers. Motion is stillness that breathes. The universe is both and neither. It is the dance between them, a dance so slow and so steady that we only perceive its softness. Mars, the quiet planet, the patient planet, the planet that sleeps, is part of this cosmic breath. Its orbit is a long inhale. Its rotation is a slow exhale. Its seasons are rhythms of warmth and frost, light and shadow, wind and calm. Mars exists inside the universe's breath as naturally as a leaf exists inside a forest breeze. And now, as we watch it sleep, we understand Mars is not alone. Mars is not frozen in fear. Mars is not lost. Mars is breathing in its own way, slow, soft, and steady. It breathes with the universe, just like us. The breath of the universe is not something we hear. It is something we feel in tides, in seasons, in the slow drift of clouds, in the beating of our hearts, in the turning of Earth, in the sleep of Mars. It is the breath that connects everything, stone to star, atom to galaxy, human to planet, motion to rest. We breathe because the universe breathes. We move because the universe moves. We spin because all things spin. And in that spin, we find our belonging. As this journey ends, let your breath slow down. Let it follow the rhythm of the universe, the rhythm of motion, without urgency, of rotation, without force, of existence that needs nothing but time. Inhale softly, feel the world turn beneath you. Exhale slowly, feel yourself turn with it. You are part of everything that moves and everything that rests. Mars sleeps, stars turn, galaxies drift. You breathe, the universe breathes through you, and in this moment, quiet, deep, timeless, you are exactly where you need to be. Rest now inside the breath of the cosmos. You have traveled far tonight, across dust and stone, across oceans long vanished, across storms made of silence, across worlds that turn even in their sleep. You have walked with Mars, its warmth, its cold, its memory, its quiet, and now you are here, at the end of the journey, at the edge of a peaceful universe. Let the weight of the day fall gently away. Let the softness of space wrap around you like a warm, slow tide. In this moment, there is nothing left to do, nothing to solve, nothing to carry, only breath, only stillness, only rest. The universe is vast, but it is patient. It waits for you. It holds you in its quiet rhythm, just like Mars, just like every star that drifts softly across the dark. Tonight, let yourself drift too. Let your thoughts settle like dust on a calm plain. Let your breath slow to the pace of turning worlds, and sleep well, traveler of the stars. Sleep deeply, sleep kindly, sleep peacefully beneath the same sky that watches over Mars. Until next time, may your dreams move gently through the universe.